What's up, witches? My name is Taylor, and I'm the Tempest Witch, and today we're doing another Witchtok Reacts Norse edition. We had that major tornado come through a few days ago, so my entire yard is just filled with greenery. I figure it gets you into the Yuletide spirit, so we're gonna keep them here because it smells divine. And it makes me feel better about the chaos of the world. So we're gonna watch some videos. Some of them are real quick, some of them are a little bit longer, but we're just gonna enjoy our time together and look at some great content. So let's begin.
Rapping like the narco, got dope like Pablo, cut dope like Pablo, chop tree.
Hod, or Hodor, is the blind brother of Baldur. He's actually the one that Loki tricks into throwing the mistletoe dart at Baldur, rendering him, dead. He's also like the god of winter and the cold and darkness and secrets and mysteries. That creator, specifically Hodor, is his patron. So I think that's really cool, but his cosplay is just so good. Anyway, let's go.
What do you think, Wackus Bonkus? Kill him. Who? You naughty Wackus Bonkus.
I mean, pretty much. Like, occasionally he'll behave himself, but once the giants realize who he is, because, he can't help himself, then there's always a fight. Thor has one thing, and it's all of the audacity. Anyway.
I don't want to get married. I want to stay single and let my hair flow in the wind as I ride through the glen, firing arrows into the sunset.
Thor getting into character as Freya before heading to Thrym's Hall. If you don't know the story, real quick recap. The Jotuns end up taking Mjolnir and Thor's pissed. And so the giants, the Jotun Thrym, says that the only way he'll give it back is if he gets to marry Freya. And Freya's like, fuck that shit, I don't want to do it. And so Thor goes, I'll go instead, after some convincing. So Loki turns into a woman, as he does. And Thor dresses, head to toe in veils and robes, so you can't really tell. They go to a feast. Eventually, the veil is lifted and they look into Thor's red eyes and they're like, oh shit. And then he just wipes at everybody. But during that, he's making his voice really high and pretending to be Freya, as all these giants are like, wow, you eat a fuck ton. Like, is that normal for the Aesir? And Loki's just like, yeah, don't worry about her, she's fine. It's a very good story, but A++, 10 out of 10.
Fehu is cattle, that's wealth on the hoof. Uruz is oxen, enduring and tough. Thursas are giants, the foes of the Aes. Ansus is Odin, ash-hung, speared and dazed. Rytho is travel, a journey to take. Kenaz is fire, to burn or to bake. Gebo is gifting, all the forms of exchange. Winyo is joy, we should all celebrate. Hagalaz, hail, clears the field for new growth. Nothies is need fires, give what we need most. Isa is stasis, like frozen in ice. Yera is year, all things come in their time. Awaz is you, the great tree of the world. Perthos the rune cup, where its mysteries revealed. Elhaz is elkhorn, protective but sharp. Soelo's sun gives us growth with new warmth. Tiwaz is Tyr, who's a just and true king. Berkana's birch is the start of new things. Awaz is horseback, the rider and steed. Manaz is humankind, allies and friends. Laguz is water, engulfing and deep. Ingvaj is Frey, the great lord of the seed. Dagaz is red gold, the dawn's early light. Othila means family, no one left behind.
So I thought that was cute. One of the interesting things, though, is that every person has their own interpretation of how to pronounce the runes. So I have my own version, other people have theirs. If going through that, you're like, well, that's not what you said. If you look in books, there are so many different names. One of the things the Norse were really good at is giving things lots of names. Like Odin. Odin has 80 names in the Eddas. So as long as it's similar and the meaning is the same, the rune is the same, even if the word is not the same. But I liked that poem, so I figured I would share it. Next one.
And I will watch the crimson blood leak from your neck. Dude, that little kid is hardcore goth. Hardcore goth.
Sometimes I think about baby Hell just showing up and all of a sudden them being like, why is she missing half her face? And this kid's just like, minding her own business. And then all of a sudden they bless her with a haul and she's like, cool, sounds good. I'ma go now. Not realizing that like Odin's trying to shun her. Rude. But also, I love Hel. My thing with like death goddesses and death gods and the idea of grim reapers and whatnot is, I don't know why everyone thinks they're scary. Wouldn't it be more scary to go to wherever your afterlife is without a guide, without anyone there to greet you once you get there? I feel like that would be much more terrifying, just to be alone. Meanwhile, you descend into Helheim and there's this queen waiting for you, and there's a bunch of people that you know, and everyone's just feasting and having a good time in the afterlife. Sounds fine to me. Next one.
If you know nothing else about medieval Norse society, you should know that hospitality was one of its highest values. And so Old Norse word of the day, hjúmbýlaprúð, meaning keeping a hospitable home. It was an adjective that described, again, one of the highest values of the society of its time. It is composed of two elements, one of which is from the noun hjúmbýli, meaning a home or household, the other an adjective, prúður, meaning stately, magnificent, or fine, so that one could assume that it was considered stately to open one's home to others in a hospitable manner.
Ancient Lit dude is really dope because he's not a Norse pagan, but he's one of the most valuable assets the Norse heathen community has, because he's a scholar. He just studies Old Norse and the language, and so he does like word of the days, and you learn all sorts of things and the root words for different words. It's super cool. One of the most vital tenements of being, you know, a Norse pagan or even just in Norse society was making sure that your home was hospitable, and if anyone came staggering in out of the cold, you were supposed to bring them in and feed them and take care of them. And that's something that is kind of lost in modern society. Maybe it's because we watch too many serial killer documentaries. Alas, and alack. Next one.
What if him being a wolf is just a personification of what he is?
This is one of my favorite things to think about when we look at the binding of Fenrir. Fenrir's parents are both in, let's say, humanoid form, right? Both Loki and Angerboda, even though we both know they can shape-shift, right? They generally walk around looking like people. So it would be fair to assume that Fenrir has the ability to look like a person. He has the ability to shapeshift just like his parents, but chooses instead to go around living life as a wolf. And that's why I say it's really important to remind ourselves that just because Fenrir looks like a wolf, because of his parentage, he's not. He's a Jotun. Or at least, 75%-ish Jotun, right? Which is why I always resist people trying to quantify him as just an animal or even like an animal spirit, because he's not. Why do you think Fenrir would choose to hold the shape of a wolf rather than be anthropomorphic like everybody else?
I really like that interpretation because it implies that Fenrir is the personification of expansion. He literally grows and grows and grows until he can no longer. It's said that, he's going to swallow the sun, and think about how big the sun is. It's just endless expansion, it's endless hunger. A wolf is the best form for him. I really like the interpretation that both Fenris Wolf and also Jormungandr, they're Jotuns, so they could be any shape they want to, but their chosen forms happen to be a giant sea serpent who just keeps growing, and a wolf who just keeps growing. I find it fascinating. It's a really cool interpretation and I like it a lot. So, anyway.
Where are my Heimdall lovers at? I was doing some reading this weekend and I stumbled on a really interesting idea. I was reading Ideas, and the primary focus of this book is the world tree, or the Yggdrasil, and how it relates to Norse cosmology. There's actually some scholarly disagreement on what the name Heimdall means, but one of the things that could possibly mean is world tree. And since this is Norse mythology, we know the gods always have a cajillion different names. So an additional name for Heimdall is Hallanskidi, meaning leaning log or a leaning staff. The The suggestion being that Heimdall is actually the personification of the world tree. Now, in the Voluspa, it says that mankind are actually the children of Heimdall. But we also know from later in the Voluspa that mankind was made from 2 logs. So this suggests that the physical form for human beings arrived and was created prior to Odin and his brothers' interaction with those logs. The physical form is known as the leek in the Norse understanding. So we got our leek from Heimdall. Also 9 mothers for Heimdall, and there's 9 realms.
So it is said that the 2 logs that created Heimdall, that then created the world and all of the people, were Esk and Imbala, so an ash tree and an elm tree, for, you know, resilience and flexibility and grace. And from those humans came. He's the only one who understands how the worlds are connected entirely. Like, of course, Odin in all his wisdom tries his best, but when he is in need of understanding, he'll go to Heimdall because he just has an extra level. I just find that really fascinating. So, just little tidbits here and there. A lot of certain characters, certain deities are the personification of something, and so it would make sense, like Fenris Wolf is the personification of the devouring nature and the hunger of growth and desperation. Heimdall is the personification of Yggdrasil and how everything is connected. That's why he understands everything and why everything is connected. And that's just really cool to me. Anyway, next one.
Everybody's gonna die, and no one's gonna remember you, so still be very careful, because right now we care a lot.
Okay, 1, we love Hank Green, who is the voice of that. We love him so much. He's a national treasure. 2, I'm usually not a fan of, wait, stop, there's a message from your deities. But the reason I saved that video was because those dice, man! Like, I saved it because I need to make a set of those, because that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. The Vikings were known to cast lots and gamble and throw dice and everything. So the idea of putting runes on 6-sided die and then being able to throw them that way, that sounds super cool, and I'm gonna make a set of those. I don't know when, that's so cool to me. Anyway.
It's called the Midwest because every single thing in it is mid. Skyline Chili. Mid. Your Cincinnati Reds who haven't won a World Series since 1990.
That's why I think it's really funny when, like, all of these bros, like, strict gender norms. And I'm like, did you read the mythology? Like, at all? Loki literally birthed a horse. How can you look at that situation and be like, men are men and women are women? Loki is the definition of fluidity. Also, people who idealize Odin as this strong, masculine war god and forget that, like, he wanted to learn Say magic from Freya, and so it's like, well, time to be Ergi, like, you can't forget that part and just focus on the parts that you want to believe in. You gotta take it collectively. Also, looking at Thor as like this big dude bro, all the time, anger and aggression. When Mjolnir was in trouble, Thor went, I gotta go. He was willing to cross-dress and pretend to be Freya in order to go get his tool back, but you know, he's this big masculine man. Stop it. Anyway.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm high on crack.
It's one of my favorite sounds. It just makes me laugh every time I hear it. The Wild Hunt is a thing that is heavily debated about. Odin is a lot of things. So to describe him as on crack during the Wild Hunt, when it's just like, we're gonna go out hunting for whatever the fuck we feel like, and we're gonna collect the souls of whoever we want as we're going. Better stay inside or we're gonna take you Helheim, let's go. That's crackhead energy. We're just gonna go running around on Sleipnir, cause fuck you, he's really fast. Let's go collect some bodies, let's go collect some souls. That's crackhead energy. Anyway.
It is day 2 of Yule, December 21st. It's the night of the Wild Hunt and the night of ancestors. On this day, our ancestors remind us to avoid the Wild Hunt. This day is sacred to Odin and Ur, the winter god. On this day, Odin is followed by ghosts of the dead roaming the skies. The skies are filled with furious winds, lightning, and thunder. Odin collects the lost souls on his path of the hunt. Today is typically spent indoors as we cast protection and positivity over our households. If one were to see or be seen by the hunting party, it could mean something disastrous would happen, or it could mean death to the witness. It is believed that those who are unprotected could have their souls taken in their sleep and become a huntsman themselves. Today I offered mead outside. My prayer for today. Our Father, you gave me strength. May I use it? You gave me courage. May I follow it? You gave me wisdom. May I share it?
That's a big thing going on Norsetok right now, is the 12 days of Yule. Some people celebrate for, just the winter solstice. Some people do it for the whole 12 days. Some people do it for like 3 or 4 days. It kind of depends on the person. The wild hunt is something that is highly disputed in the significance and the purpose and, is it even valid today? It's a whole bunch of things, but it is a very interesting concept. If you're very interested in that, definitely go look it up. The next one is the last one. Hold on to your hats, this is good.
Odin and Freya and Heimdall and Thor, Loki and Frigga and Sif and Jorn. But do you recall the most beautiful god of them all? Balder, the perfect day seer, had some very shiny hair. If you ever saw him, you would even say it's fair. All of the other Aesir loved him, he was number one. His mom was every art. Except mistletoe! And asked them not to kill her son. Then one happy party day, Loki came to say, Odin, even though you're blind, mistletoe down the line. Perfect day fell and died. Loki shouted out with glee. Balder, the perfect day's here. You'll go down to mythology.
I thought that was very cute. Like, just overall 10 out of 10. And they wrote that themselves. That's one of the reasons that origins of herbal properties are important, because mistletoe is supposed to be very protective and, love and light and everything's wonderful. Whereas if you're a Norse pagan, mistletoe is toxic and sad and painful. It's the reason the sun went away. And everyone's like, oh, kiss under the mistletoe. It's like, well, if you know the story of Balder, you know that mistletoe isn't nice. It's not happy. It's not joyful. You focus on the toxicity. Origins are important, significance are important. Do with that what you will. Every time I do this, my Red Bull gets farther away. Hold on. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm really having fun making this, and I just enjoy sharing different videos I find with you that I find interesting. And I hope you'll be along for the journey as I just keep making these. So, skull, my friends.